Well, welcome back, everyone, to another edition of MSI's webinars. I'm your host, Tim Norton, and today we're going to be discussing the AI landscape, exploring the benefits, risks, and best practices for your organization. Today, I'm joined by Chris Morris, our Business Alignment Manager, James Eubanks, our Head of Internal AI Systems. And if you're a customer, you might know Chris as your point person for all things IT at your account. While you might know James from this past weekend's Polar Plunge. Thanks, James, for attending the Prior Lake Plunge. And a big shout out to our friends at the Special Olympics Minnesota for putting on the event. And again, thank you to all of our associates and partners for your participation. Before we begin, if any questions come up during the webinar, you'll notice that there is a chat bar on the right, and you please feel free to enter in any questions into the chat box, and one of us will do our best to answer your questions at the end of the webinar. So AI, we're hearing a lot about it, guys. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it for you and your business? I guess first and foremost, how do you guys think AI is going to impact your business in 2025 and beyond? James, I might start with you here.
Yeah, so AI it's kind of getting tendrils into all aspects of business, right? So it's going to be impacting, everything from business decisions to efficiencies and things like that. So it's really going to start impacting businesses more and more as we continue down the AI landscape, and certainly as we develop new technologies around AI.
And, I know a lot of us are asking the question, what is it? And I think beyond artificial intelligence, I think that question is kind of hard to answer. So if we're going to define AI, what is it, guys?
Yeah, so essentially AI is basically just a computer that really kind of performs things automatically, typically the way we used to do things, kind of human-wise, right? With writing emails and kind of rewriting things. So that's how we know of it these days, but it's also used in kind of a data set way. So when you hear about it in a media landscape, you're going to hear machine learning and generative AI. These are both AIs, and there are many other different forms of AI, but these are the two big ones that everybody hears about. So really generative AI is that top end one, but really AI is kind of getting around you in every aspect of the way. You're getting image recognition, speech, basically you use a Google Translate, that's using an AI system. You're chatting with a frustrating chat bot, that's going to be an AI system on that end of things. So it's really kind of everywhere right now. And so, yeah, that machine learning generative is the one you typically hear about, but there are many other forms of AI.
So what is the most used feature of AI?
Yeah, so it's generative AI. That's pretty much right now the bread and butter of what people see and interact with AI. And generative AI, what that is really these large language models that have been trained on billions and trillions of parameters, and they're really used to produce basically, fake words. So you tell it, hey, write me an email based off this bit of information I give you, and out pops a fully completed email. So it's really a prompt system. So you prompt it to give you that information. You can also use it to produce images, text, video. You can feed it a document. Hey, summarize this document for me. What do I need to know about this document? Hey, here's the meeting notes. What action items do I have in that meeting notes? So those are ways of generative AI that we hear about quite often. We have a large number of machine learning AI models out there from large language systems. Most people have only heard of ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Grok, DeepSeek. These are all kind of those media output terms. And there are hundreds of thousands of other distilled variants from there. But generative AI is the number one we see.
So how do you effectively use AI, James?
Yeah, so the effective way of using AI is, excuse me, machine learning AI is the biggest one for businesses, right? So you can have machine learning AI without generative AI, but you cannot have generative AI without machine learning. So machine learning is that core bit of AI that actually powers most AI systems. And really, machine learning just allows you to teach an AI system about your data. You can either use supervised, where you help guide that machine learning the way you want it to learn. You can tell it to do it with unsupervised. Unsupervised just basically allows you to say, hey, find me structures, find me how this data works. And then there's also a last one, which is heavily used in generative AI. It's called reinforcement learning. Basically, it gives you an output, you say no, yes, and it reinforces itself from there. So that's that reinforcement learning. We use machine learning heavily with data sets. Data sets are one of those aspects that are heavily driven to allow businesses to make those decisions. And then you also use machine learning when a Tesla car self-drives. That's trained off of a machine learning visual system. So machine learning is one of those great aspects that drives almost all AI.
And I know, some of the questions that we anticipate getting are around the security of AI. And I know when we first started using AI here at Metro Sales, security was a big topic. So how secure is the data and the information, James, that we're putting into AI?
Yeah, so with security risks, and Chris is going to join me on helping me talk through this one here. With security risks, we're looking at anytime you use a publicly available AI, you talk to ChatGPT, you talk to Copilot, any of those natures, and you do not have an enterprise level contract, as the vast majority of us don't, they, in their terms of service, say that they now own your information and can use it to train their models. So that is one heavy risk with using a publicly available AI to drive your business and drive your business decisions. And then with enterprise level, Chris, you can speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. So this is probably one of the biggest questions that I get from our clients today that do MSI IT. It's what's the security risks of this? And as we'll talk a little farther down the road, is there's a difference of internal and external and how that impacts your business. But really the biggest thing that you can do is be aware of it. The landscape is ever changing, especially when we're talking about Copilot and Microsoft. They today have terms in there where they are not sharing out your data. They're very lengthy terms. The contracts are very long and hard to understand, but it's ever changing. And just because they're stating in there that your data isn't getting shared out, that does not mean that there is not the capability of a breach or something happening where that information gets leaked out and sold out to the dark web. So it's possible that it's happening. Be careful of what you're putting into your searches. I know we were talking about the generative AI, and that's what I tend to see a lot with the clients that we're working with, making those emails more professional, going through and having consistent responses to your clients and having a customer experience that deems professionalism. What you want to be careful with in this is you don't want to be speaking with a robot, and kind of what James was talking about with the chat bots and things like that. I advise all the time to use this for a tool, but make sure that you're keeping that human connection in there and you're peeling this back. So really from a security perspective, you can do encryption. That's really important that if you're doing your internal data, that's encrypted. And the other piece of this is making sure that you are following the adherence or ethical standards for compliance here, because there is a fine line that is really changing as we go forward in regards to what is ethical and what's not, and what the government standards are in regards to your data. And assessing that would be the last piece of it, is just making sure that you're doing security audits in regards to your environment and your data, and you're staying in alignment with the compliances and what's in front of us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you touched on customer experience, Chris. So, how does AI really impact that customer experience?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
No, it's all right, James. Let me kick it off for a second, because I see this a lot in regards to the presentation that you give to your clients, right? Maybe it's an agenda that you're going through strategic meetings with. Maybe it's a PowerPoint that you're doing. A lot of the Microsoft Office 365 suite and Copilot is what we're seeing with the small and medium-sized businesses that we're working with. But it gives you the professionalism and it saves you a lot of time. If you're like me, where you're putting a lot of business meetings together, you're doing a lot of agendas, you're doing a lot of presentation of information, this can really, really help you make that professional and nice, clean cut by cutting down your time as well, because you can take a lot of time getting all the right formatting and the bulleting in place that gives you a professional image where the AI can automatically build all that in there. You just got to make sure you're feeding it the right information and being adaptive with it.
Yeah, and to go along with that, we have a series of do's and do nots here at Metro that we implement as part of our AI internal AI policy. So, like Chris was saying, the biggest thing to watch out for with AI is, I'm sure you've heard it in the media. It's called hallucinations. Hallucinations is a fancy word for saying that the AI is going to make something up. It's going to lie because if it doesn't know the answer, it may give you false information in order to fill the need to answer your prompt. So the biggest thing is you always want to make sure you kind of read through it. You don't just copy and paste whatever an AI outputs out to you. And if you're using, as we've hammered on before, if you're using a public AI tool, just make sure that every information you get it, just make sure it's something you're not going to want to be out in the public. So it's a confidential item there. So really, the AI tools that we have today, they're no substitute for human judgment. That's a big piece there, is they're not a substitute for a human actually reading through it and making sure that, yes, it's good. And 9 times out of 10 it is, but there's that one time that it's not, and it's very important to read through it.
So is there any easy way, James, for a business leader to kind of adapt to some of those challenges?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing to make sure that you're doing when you're kind of making sure you modify to these challenges is try to keep up with the news. AI changes daily, every single day. Grok 3 released yesterday and it changed the AI landscape again. So really trying to keep up with some of that business news. Maybe try to identify somebody in your organization who can help keep you up with that business news of what AI is doing and how is it going and where are things going with it. And then one of the things you also want to make sure of is you adhere to a core set of standards around AI. And that includes, again, these do nots. One of these big things is making sure you don't put that confidential proprietary data into a public AI tool. Now, if you sign a contract with Microsoft, they sign a contract back with you saying we are going to protect your data and make sure that we don't utilize that data. But if you're using a public tool, there is not that same level of contract. So if you are a smaller business who does not qualify for an enterprise level contract, keep in mind that you are still under that public contract with those AI tools. And the big one is don't put in any PII information into an AI tool. You put in a PII information into a public AI tool, and that AI tool can then learn that information about you or whoever you are putting that information into. You can switch around to using more generic terms, like I have a copier business and I want to sell to this business, without using the exact names of those and without using the exact names of the individuals. So those are kind of some of the big do nots. Now, we here at MSI, as we've mentioned before, we implemented a rule that no customer interactions are going to be AI driven. So you call us, you talk to us, you email us, you're going to get a response that is from an actual person. We just want to make sure that we still have that human touch when we're doing interactions with our customers.
And James, you touched on PII. What is PII?
PII is it's basically, as we laid out, personal identifiable information. It's your name. It's anything about you, date of birth. You can think of it in a way of your medical records. I had a brain fart there for a second, but your medical records, right? Anything containing your medical records is also PII. So it's anything that identifies you or someone else as a person.
Got it. That makes sense. And there are a few, I guess, deployment options for our customers, right? And I want to touch on those for a moment here. So I guess how do you measure that success, James? I mean, where do we start?
Yeah, so measuring success of AI, it all depends on, again, your deployment, and it depends on what you put down as your wants for an AI. because AI systems can integrate with just about every aspect of your business, from core data to learning about your customers, to talking to your customers if you would like to do that, to writing your emails, analyzing spreadsheets. So you have to identify what in your business you would like to be more efficient and more streamlined, and then using that you can determine what your measure of success is. And with that, you have other deployment options and different tools to use for that. Copilot, Chris can speak to.
Yeah, and really, I highly encourage you when we're talking about AI to think about it from a growth mindset perspective. Very similar to the way I would advise you look at a business, where you have to be able to adapt to what's in front of you, because there's a lot of good information that's being pulled out of this. And if you're not forward thinking, or you don't have a business that's ready to adapt and change to the details that are happening in front of you, it's going to be really hard to utilize this effectively. So when we're talking about Copilot, this is the Microsoft Office 365 option. They're even changing their whole suite to be called Copilot 365. So everything that they do from an Office suite perspective is going to be integrated. And this is why I tend to see it the most, is because the businesses are using the Words, the Excels, the PowerPoints for their business. So now that they're all integrated, you can make it such a better, consistent experience. We were talking a little bit about that before, but the reality is when you have this tool in place, you can now have individuals all across the spectrum from different departments presenting in a very professional manner, which does bring a big value from a business perspective. But as you can see, it comes at a cost, right? That is a cost, and it's something we'll talk about, of efficiencies and things like that are challenging. But Copilot is definitely one of the main ones that we do see. And I think it absolutely has value for business. I can't express enough the human connection that you want to keep in place as you utilize this tool and benefit it for your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chris. And I will say, if anyone out there has any questions or wants to get started, or at least open up a dialogue between themselves and Metro Sales, if you are an IT customer, please reach out to your business alignment manager, Chris, or whoever it is. If not, we're going to provide you with some contact information here shortly, but I did want to open this up to the audience for some questions. I know we at least have one right now from Jeff. Where do you see, I guess, where do we see AI in the next 5 years? Chris or James, I don't know if you have a good answer for that.
Yeah, I can kick it off,
Okay.
and I'll kick it over to James. I mean, he's definitely on the more technical side of this. But what I see is it's ever changing, right? This is rapidly going fast, and where we're trying to stay in front of this is from the government and compliance perspective. At some point, we're going to be in the middle of the road here, where the AI is challenging our government standards, and if the government doesn't stay in alignment with that, things will get a little crossed. We mostly see this in security, healthcare, financial industries are really leaning into AI because it's very powerful for the data sets that they do. And I firmly believe that the healthcare industry is really going to, over the next 5 years, we'll see from the patient outcome what's happening. A lot of things are going to be happening there. And then the other side would be AI and robotics. It's going to be critical, but the security piece keeps being top of mind when we're talking about AI. And as you go forward, it's more and more going to be utilized for your business. So I love the way James approached this of, you should use more industry and not your specific terms, especially if you don't have an internal AI solution like we do here at MSI. You should be very broad about that, right? I'm an IT provider, and this is what I'm trying to achieve, and be very broad about that. The other thing that you can do is make sure that you're partnering with an IT provider like MSI. We're seeing this stuff on the daily. We're navigating the challenges of it, the benefits of it, the compliances of it. And there's nothing better that you can do than partnering up with somebody that is right in the trenches of this stuff and is able to help you navigate it. Our goal would always be for you to get you educated of what's in front of you. We get you educated. The goal is for you to make a smart business decision, and you know what to expect from that. And I'll kick it over to you, James, to kind of add on to that.
Yeah, from a technical standpoint, where we see AI in the next 5 years, it's certainly possible we could get to what they're calling AGI, artificial general intelligence, But what we have seen in the industry is actually a bit of a slowdown in the skyrocketing. So for the first couple of years of the generative AI, we just saw this huge just rocket ship of learning and making it better and better and so much better. And in the past 6 months, there's actually been a significant slowdown on that because there's only so much you can train the systems on. So now it's going to take a whole nother level of kind of revolution to get to that. And I think that that is possible in the next 5 years, is that we could reach some sort of artificial general intelligence, which is the ability to think much more like a human and less like a machine. That could be certainly possible. But I think from a business standpoint, what we're actually going to see in the next 5 years is almost every single business out there leaning into their data actually getting into a machine learning with where you can just ask it a simple, hey, what did we do last quarter? And it pops out all the information for you. That is going to be happening in the next 5 years. I think any business that doesn't kind of lean into that will be left behind on that in the next 5 years. So I think it's extremely important that we start exploring that and navigating security risks.
Yeah, and James, as you're talking about that, the data that you put into these AI tools dramatically leans into how beneficial it is for your business. If you're feeding this data that isn't accurate, you're going to get inaccurate results from it. So a big piece of this is going to be accuracy as we're going forward. A lot of businesses are using this for just reporting and metrics, right? What is happening with my business? Where is the pain? What's happening? But what I tend to see a lot is if you don't have the right data sets in place that are critical to what you're trying to do, the results can be very mixed and not applicable to helping you move forward and growing your business. So always analyzing that, questioning the gaps that are here, right? Again, using this as a tool that is beneficial for you, but understanding that it's not 100% fixed for you. There's absolutely gaps here. There's things that you need to be secure about, and you should absolutely be securing and doing security audits on your business in regards to where that data is, how you're using it. It's going to get moved on to your vendors, right? That'll be the next piece, is you're starting to integrate vendors and their efficiencies and their deliverables through that. And we want to make sure that they're secure as well. So this is really going to branch out to a pretty far web, and it's critical to be secure with what you're doing and have an educated partner with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. And again, if you're going to call Metro Sales, whether it's for service on an existing product that you have from us, or if you're just interested in something new, whether it's our IT services, copy, print equipment, etc., please give us a call or send us an email. We do promise that a live representative will be in touch with you. But it's been a pleasure having everybody attend today, and we hope you guys learned something. Again, thank you to Chris and James for taking time out of their day for this. But again, please give us a call or email us at mts@metrosales.com or metrosales.com/managedIT. You can visit our website, fill out a form, and somebody will reach out to you guys. But hopefully everybody stays warm and have a great rest of your winter, and we will see everybody soon. Thank you.
Thank you.